Welcome back to On Rate Podcast. You have Elijah here alongside Grant. NFL season just wrapped up. It's kind of been one of the bad weeks where coaches are getting let go. Teams' playoff hopes were shot down over the weekend. All the teams like the Lions come to a realization they just lost the first pick. So, the season has kind of all come to a wrap here. And, I think we're going to kick off to an interesting firing. First things first, and that would be what the Dolphins did, and that's letting go of Brian Flores. I know both of us kind of have strong opinions on this, so I'll kick it off to you first. Kind of what are your thoughts on him first of all getting let go, and then we'll go down the line of some of the other coaches.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, the thing with him is just was so interesting. I feel like, you look at the situation he was in. Not the greatest team when he inherited them. They were able to. They started off 1-7 this year, won like 8 straight games. Ended up finishing like 10-6 last year. They didn't make the playoffs the last couple of years, which I know, that's a lot of like what, kind of like rests on coaches' shoulders is like playoff appearances and such. But it doesn't really make a ton of sense. Like, I feel like he had to kind of endure, just a lot of different things going on. From just like a GM standpoint, like they had like probably one of the worst O-lines in the league, and like they traded away like arguably like one of the best left tackles in the league to the Texans a couple years back. They shipped off Minkah Fitzpatrick, like all pro safety. They shipped him off to the Steelers, a couple of years back. So I think, and obviously I know like coaches and GMs and like the owners, they all kind of like have like a hand in the pot some way somehow. But I don't think he was like behind those types of things. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he took like what he was working with, which was very little, and it was able to make it happen. Surprisingly, he's one of the only coaches from the Belichick coaching tree that's or like kind of like came up under Belichick a little bit, that's actually done something. A lot of these coaches, other ones we'll talk about, a couple of them were in New England at one point, but yeah, this doesn't really make a ton of sense. I always feel like it's, you look at like the NFL overall, there's not a lot of diversity, when it comes to coaches. If I'm not mistaken, there might have been like 2 or 3 black coaches this year, including him. I think it's him, and then it was a guy Cully that's in Houston.
Tomlin.
Yeah, Ben Tomlin. Yeah. So like, I feel like Tomlin's obviously done a great job.
3 out of what? 30? 3 out of 32.
Yeah, 3 out of 30. Yeah. So Tomlin's obviously his resume speaks for himself. It'd be crazy to try to run him out of town, but like I just feel like sometimes the leash is just short. When it comes to like black coaches. I mean, you look at guys like Dan Campbell, Brandon Staley. We watched Brandon Staley like cause his team a playoff spot on live TV. Everybody got to see it. And he working with, he got the quarterback that the Dolphins probably should have drafted. He working with a lot more than what Brian Flores is working with, and he was still just, the Dolphins were on the cusp of making it, and the Chargers ended up taking themselves out of the playoffs. So I don't know, it's just interesting. I mean, obviously if a coach is not producing and just like not doing what he needs to do, or just kind of, acting like Urban Meyer or Joe Judge, it makes sense, to kind of like let them go. But I just feel like sometimes I feel like black coaches don't really get they kind of get the short end of the stick in a lot of different situations.
No, I completely agree. And I think I couldn't tell you what their record was the year before he got there, but going 10-6 and then finishing, what they finished with this year? 9. Yeah. So, two above 500 seasons. And most years at 10-6, you're going to make the playoffs. That's an anomaly to not make the playoffs and going in 10-6. So that's bad luck. That's just the way the way the cards fell that year. But I'd say I would, if I was a part of that fan base, I would see the writing on the wall and see what he has put together. Kind of the securing the draft picks and, kind of just turning the team around and making them a formidable team, and finishing very strong this year, winning like 8 or 9 games in a row, or 8 or 9 games near the end of the year. So it's kind of, I would say just kind of early I would want at least one more year of that. If I was in their fan base or if I was a part of that organization, I would say, okay, let's see what at least one more year can do. Um, and if it is true that the rumors that he wanted a different quarterback and he took Tua, and you would have to begin to look at, okay, well, what if he did have his guy here?
Yep.
What if Justin Herbert was running this team? Is that a couple more wins? Is that an 11-5 the year before possibly? Is that 11-6 this year or whatever? So I think it's just who, and then on top of that, who are you going to go out and get? I would say there's not a lot of, at least that I could think of, great young names out there, and he's probably going to land again another coaching job. I would imagine him. You keep bringing up Urban Meyer. You brought up Urban Meyer, Jacksonville. I could see him landing there. See what he could do with Trevor Lawrence.
Chicago.
And a lot of their good young picks and a lot of cap space.
You would assume he would get hired first out of like the whole group of guys that just got fired, because I think he's the only one that had a winning record.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is like, I don't know, like that would be my assumption. So we'll see what happens though.
No, I would hope so too. And I think I would hope he would get hired. To be perfectly honest, I think a lot of times you see the young black coaches in NFL, whether they have a little bit of success and then they get fired or they fizzle out right away, they almost never pop back up, versus some of these other coaches who have 5, 6, 7 tenures at different places just spinning out and looking horrible. So, I would say hopefully, he can land back on his feet this season or this upcoming season. And, so he look at what he did and look at like a Joe Judge. And those are two different classes. One obviously deserves to be a head coach somewhere, and the other, might be best sticking with whatever positional, coaching position he had before. So,
yeah. And I say it's crazy. You had, I get it. Starting off 1-7, definitely not ideal. They're the ones that gave the Jaguars their first win of the season. They lost a couple tight ones. Like I get it. But it's like, man, like the turnaround, like not too many coach, like an 8-game winning streak in the NFL. Like you'd be lucky to rattle off 2 wins in a row, just depending on what division you in and what your schedule looks like. I mean, they played the Ravens during that time, and they're already in the AFC East. They played a very some solid teams in there during that streak. So I just think like I was kind of frustrated to see, because you can see, like, and this will kind of shift to what we're going to start talking about now. You see coaches like, Joe Judge and, Urban Meyer, a couple other coaches that got, let go, that, are really just mediocre, just do mediocre. Like, while the Dolphins are fighting for their playoff lives, you got Joe Judge lining his team up in a, QB sneak victory formation, it looked like a max punt protection, on their own 10-yard line, and he's talking crazy, and interviews called Washington called their team a bunch of clowns, and they ended up losing to them 25-7, And oddly enough, but he was that mediocre. But when Monday hit, everybody else was gone, and I feel like the Giants legit got bullied into letting him go.
Yeah.
I feel like if people weren't just why is this dude still a coach? They might have just been all right, we'll just try it again next year. But they made the right decision, obviously, in letting him go. But it's it's crazy to kind of see that, because you got coaches like him, guy in Chicago, just mediocre, their team, and Nagy, they ain't been able to move the ball in years. You know what I'm saying? They have one of the worst offenses in the league, and he got there, was able to, he inherited, got Khalil Mack and everything from Oakland, and was able to, had this great defense when he first got there.
The defense carried them for a year or two, which made everything look like it was.
Right.
Man, I'm drawing a blank on that quarterback's name, but it made it look like it was all on the QB. Trubisky, So which obviously wasn't that good, but it made it an easy scapegoat.
Right. And it's you got him. I'll let you go here in a second, but I really feel strongly about this topic. You got him. You got Zimmer. Zimmer got top 3 receiver, a top 10 receiver, a top 3 running back in the backfield. Kirk Cousins, solid. A lot of teams would rather have Kirk Cousins. right now than like who they have. Solid defense, and they're losing on Sunday Night Football to Cooper Cup or Cooper Rush, third like second string quarterback for the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? Like they're losing to, they're blowing leads left and right. Like they're losing like that to Dallas, and then beating like a team they have no business beating. But it's like it's just that constant like mediocrity. Like Brian Flores, I can't name. They just got that receiver, Waddle from Bama.
Yep.
I can't name none of their other receivers. I can't name any of their running backs. I can name a couple defensive players. Like I mean, that's like a real coach. I mean, he's working with nothing. You got these other coaches that have all this talent everywhere, and they can't even, they can't even make an offense sustain a drive like consistently. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
No, I agree. I think there's clearly two levels of expectations, and I think a lot of times, you whether it's the GM or the owner, whatever, they get their guy, and then they don't want to be wrong about it. And I think we get a lot of that buddy thing in the NFL going, and I think it costs a lot of people opportunity at coaching jobs, and vice versa. It's easier for them to shoot out some of these coaches when they want to bring in whoever that might be the next hot guy. So I agree. It's double standard, and it's frustrating. But I think Brian Flores will land on his feet. I would want to see him get a job, and the rest of the guys I can't see at least this upcoming year a head coaching job. And you brought up Scaly. Now, obviously, he is a great young quarterback there. He cost them a playoff job or playoff position, but his job's not in jeopardy whatsoever, and that's a direct coaching error. But he can turn around and point to statistics. Statistically, he said, that we should do this because I was hearing that he's a real analytical guy. So it's interesting to see what excuses they do accept and just kind of the bullshit that's able to get by.
Yeah, and like to even bring him up, I mean, they played the Chiefs like 3 or 4 weeks ago, had a perfect opportunity to like beat them, potentially be like number one team in that division, like probably could lock up a playoff spot like in the weeks following that week. He went for it on fourth down like 8 times.
Yep.
Only got it like three times. A couple of those times in the red zone. Like one of them was like right before halftime, and he they went for it, and Herbert almost threw a pick six like from the 1 yard line. So like, I just don't really understand it. I mean, even this past Sunday night, it was 4th and 1 from their own 18, and they went for it.
They went for it.
And you put your defense in a bad spot.
And what sense does that make sense? Like that's like literally football day one. Like you know what I mean? Like you can pull up to a middle school practice and ask a team if that makes sense, and they would say no. So that doesn't.
It's like
that's just out coaching. That's just out coaching yourself, thinking you're smarter than you are, and you should never go for it on your fucking 18. Right. Like, it doesn't make sense.
You got. I mean, like I said, it's crazy. I hope that Brian Flores. I mean, there's teams like Denver, Minnesota are just loaded.
Yeah.
That just had like these coaches coming. Like it's been like a revolving door. Zimmer was in Minnesota for a good little minute. But like
I do think Minnesota's a good fit. I was thinking he would like a good young team trying to partner up with a quarterback is why I said
Chicago would be a good fit too.
Yeah. Which is why I was going with Jacksonville. But I do agree. Minnesota would be a great fit, and maybe he could. We talked about Kellen Mond. Maybe he could be the one to kind of jumpstart that. And it's interesting.
It's possible. Yeah, and I think because I was just kind of like looking at there are some teams that are like there's kind of like a piece away or just like just kind of need that stability at coach. Like Denver, I mean they got like running backs, receivers loaded. Like defense is crazy. Like. I mean, Minnesota kind of the same way. I think Jacksonville, that would definitely be I think that would be, one of those, like, definitely more of a project. And
maybe a team like Minnesota, who isn't bad, but just kind of, spinning the wheels. Yeah. Maybe just a good young coach coming in there, firing them up, different taste of everything. That just that could magnify things. Just
Yeah,
that could fire up the team and make them something. Make a good little run. So,
yeah,
and in as far as that, they're in an interesting division as well. I mean, obviously the Lions aren't the greatest. We're still figuring things out. We bring up Chicago; they're kind of in the same similar spot. Green Bay's top of the town, but Aaron Rodgers
could be legal.
back, yeah. So it's interesting. That's
Yeah,
not that fit. I just hope and it's a shame. Just thinking about this, kind of off topic here, but it's a shame that I mean, what's that? Like 10% of all coaches are black, and
yeah,
that when probably 70% of the league is. So that's kind of wild. 10%.
yeah. I mean, you even have that was like the Rooney Rule. I saw somebody making a joke about it on Twitter, where like the black guys talking to like an owner or something like in an interview, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we just need more like experience, or like we're looking for this kind of guy." And somebody handed him like Rooney cream or Rooney rub, and he went and like put some on, and came out the bathroom white, and it was like, "Oh yeah, like you're exactly what we're looking for,"
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I don't know, like I said, I think I feel like I'm try to kind of be more outspoken about this because there's literally a rule made that you have to
Interview a
you have
black.
to interview a diverse candidate before you start your process of like looking at other people. And I do want to give props to Bruce Arians. He's got like black men, like women, like people from all walks of life, like on his coaching staff, and they won a Super Bowl. So I just think like I think highly of him for doing for doing that, because I mean that's just proof that like a lot of these coaches, whether they want to be a head coach or like a defensive, line coach, whatever the case may be, I mean, they're just qualified as the next guy. And it's weird just because like you see, and this is kind of sort of off topic, but like, Dwayne Wade got his son, a job, with the team that he's running.
Yeah.
And everybody was up in arms about that, but nobody said nothing about Bill Belichick's son being like the defensive coordinator in New England looking all crazy.
Right.
So it's just like, it kind of sucks. You got this like, it's not what you know, it's who you know thing kind of going. Everybody's supposed to take their guys and bring them here, bring them there. And I just know there's a lot of coaches out there that are just waiting for that shot and can be very successful if they get that opportunity.
Yeah. No, I agree. And just um, to shake things up, I think once it's like you said, if and I don't think he's going to, but let's say Bill Belichick's kid had any talent,
Yeah.
he probably would be a coach somewhere. That just
Mm-hmm.
shows how least amount of time he has that he's stuck as like the assistant special teams coach for your
Yeah.
own dad. That just shows cream does rise to the top. So I would
Right.
say if he had any talent, he would be somewhere else. That just shows that how probably little amount of talent he does have, that he's
Right.
forced to be in such a menial position on his own father's team.
Yeah.
So that's it's a shame. And then, yeah, he has one of the greatest Twitter pictures of 2021. With his, so
Looking wild. Yeah.
look like
But yeah,
Jordan.
just I guess kind of shift gears a little bit. We want, I think the dust kind of settling a little bit, but I think there's gonna be more obviously to down the road that comes out with this story. But Antonio Brown, like I was just crazy. Like I was watching Red Zone, NFL Red Zone, just sitting there like chilling, and they're like they cut to like the Jets and the Bucks game, and I just look at this dude's running on the field with no shirt on, and like obviously you go to Twitter, you know what I'm saying, and try to kind of like piece things together, kind of understand what's going on. There's Antonio Brown's side, he's basically saying like, okay, like I get it, I have all this baggage, I'm hearing that they were most likely going to cut him after he had like the fake vaccine card, but then the week before he came back, they, Mike Evans got hurt, Chris Godwin got hurt, like they lost a Leonard Fournette, so they're like, okay, like hold off a little bit. So his angle is like, all right, like, you guys only wanted to keep me here because you needed me. They're also saying he tried to like get his money guaranteed because he felt like he might not hit his incentives, before the season ended. And then, Tampa Bay is kind of coming from an angle where they're like, all right, like, yeah, like we definitely like we knew you had baggage. You've been doing a lot of different crazy things. Like we kind of saw through because Tom wanted you here. Like you're trying to get your money guaranteed like that Wednesday before everything happened. So they're looking at it as more of like, he only acted that way because he couldn't get his money guaranteed. And then when he kind of maybe realized he might not get what he was looking for, what he was, his incentives because he was hurt, he kind of acted out and decided it was time to go. So I guess, I'm not asking you to pick sides. I don't think this is a situation where you necessarily need to pick a side. I think it's just kind of like understanding who's wrong on both sides of the fence and then just kind of like forming an opinion. So what do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot to the situation. I would say he has. You can't just take this in a bottle and not look at how he exited the Steelers or how he exited Oakland, or I don't think anything happened in New England, and then how he ended up down here. So I would say it is. I guess I don't have a side to pick. I think ultimately both sides got what they wanted, which was a championship last year. And then this year, it was just a matter of time before something happened.
Yeah.
I would say, lying about the vaccine, being injured, him probably not being happy. He's not on a major deal. He'd probably saying, all right, I helped you guys win the championship last year. I had a touchdown catch in the Super Bowl, and then you guys are having me play on an incentive-based deal.
Right.
And then being hurt and suspended, all of that, I just think that's a lot that happened. All for them to say, we didn't really – the only person I wanted you here was Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that's another thing where Tom put his neck out there. And also, nobody's talking about this one, maybe he needs a little bit of repercussion for, or not repercussion, but you allowed him to bring – you brought this ticking time bomb in here that knew this could happen. So there is some type of responsibility that comes on you for you co-signed him to be here. Nobody else wanted it. So I would say there's some of that as well. That's the issue that if he was the coach's guy and not Tom's guy, it would we would be in a different spot. Maybe that contract would have got guaranteed. Maybe he would have got a few more balls earlier in the year. So I would say ultimately you where he most went wrong, in my opinion, is how he exited the field. That's where it most went wrong. If he just same deal, walked off the field but didn't throw the jersey or took the shirt off or jumping jacks, and then we're all looking at him in an entirely different light, and without all the antics on the back end. That's kind of my personal opinion. I think he's an awesome player. Yeah. And I think they both got what they wanted, and that was he got another shot in the league in a Super Bowl, and they got a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, like I said, when obviously more will start to come out, and I don't think there's like a party that's like wrong or party that's right. You know what I'm saying? I just think obviously Antonio Brown could have handled it way, way differently. And I also feel like, Tampa Bay, like coach, like Arians, he could have handled it like, way differently. But for me, and it sounds like, Arians, he was more just kind of like fed up, and probably was like, all right, like I'm just sick of this dude. Like we already he came back from suspension, like we let him come back. And he already acting out because he think he's not gonna hit his incentives. We didn't guarantee his money. Like he was probably just at the point of the time he's just like, all right, that's it. That's finished. So I guess kind of follow up. You think he'll be able to get on another team? Like you think that'll be something that's March, April, after he gets surgery and everything and get back 100%. You think somebody will give him a look? And who do you think would do it?
I do see him being on a team next year. I do. I think it might be one of them later summer deals. I'm not going to say a name, but so-and-so goes down with the ACL midsummer.
Yeah.
All right, we need a receiver. And that one of those type of deals. I think if you bring him in on a similar deal to probably what he's on now, you're going to make a base. You get X, Y, and Z. Here's some money. And if you do anything outside of be a good model player, you're out of here. I definitely could see that happening. I think he's young enough. I think he's gotten 500 yards or so the last couple of years being
third guy.
Yeah. So I would say somebody it's gonna have to be somebody with a great locker room, somebody with an established presence. So, I would say, maybe like the Chiefs, maybe we'd have to see how things play out, but possibly the Rams or somebody. I think he's gonna have to. Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody where he can't come in and completely take over.
yeah,
Where,
yeah. It's
what's
that's
your thoughts on
basically,
that?
yeah. Like I just think like I mean he's just a ticking time bomb. You know what I'm saying? Like like it was only a matter of time. You know, like I was geeked to see what he was gonna do even in Oakland. I'm like, all right, like you know what I'm saying? Like they're about to move to Vegas. Like he gonna be the guy. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, he couldn't even. He made it like did he even make it to the regular season? I don't even think he
No, I don't. 'Cause
did.
I think that was a hard knocks where he was complaining about his helmet and shit.
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
issues something. So it's like you I think some place that would be a fit would be like I mean, we kind of rattled some off. I feel like Baltimore, I think that'd be somewhere where they're just like, all right, like they was like 3 strikes, we like half strike, like you need to look at somebody crazy, like you're gonna be done, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think this has got to be one of them, like in like the language in the contract, basically like you out of line, like you finished, um, but yeah, it'll be interesting because I think watching that podcast he was on, he was talking about like playing for like a prove it deal, and nobody's gonna be giving him 2 years like 15 mil or what I'm saying, nothing like that. Like I wouldn't take that shot on him. Like I wouldn't even want to give him like I might throw him a mil, like a couple mil, and maybe give him like 3 million or 5 million in incentives, and just make him like kind of like aggressive to where he really got to be on his like p's and q's, and really like go crazy on the field, but. I don't know. We'll see. Because remember, when I had sent you his stats, like my man's was in
Yeah,
six round pick out of CMU. Like he was putting up crazy numbers. Like
yeah.
there is a point in time you literally could not like not one deep. You could double him. It didn't matter. Like deep, like put like a corner in a top lockdown corner. It didn't matter. Like
Yeah, no, I mean he had like a 5 6 year stretch where he had plus 13, 1,400 yards and 100 catches. Like
yeah, eight
yeah.
nine touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I think it's it'll be interesting. I agree. I do think he's gonna definitely land somewhere else, and at the end of the day, I just feel like I can't sit here and be like I just want everybody to succeed some way somehow. So I hope he do kind of get a shot to redeem himself because he's a Hall of Famer for sure. So hopefully I don't want this to be like his last like hurrah, like the last thing because I think receivers get put in like boxes, you know what I'm saying? Like we'll talk about certain receivers, and then there's like Chad Johnson. Like every time I talk about Chad Johnson on ESPN, it's really just him doing some crazy celebration, or like you see T.O. it's him doing crunches outside of his house. Like they kind of
they minimize the greatness.
Yeah, they get put in these boxes. You wouldn't really know, like, because somebody made a good point. I was watching a podcast earlier, like with T.O., like, I mean, he was kind of coming up and we was kind of like just started to watch football, like really get into it. He was like a dog
Yeah.
in like San Fran and like, but like you just never really.
I don't obviously remember those days, but just from being a kid, T.O. is one of my favorite receivers of all time.
Yeah,
Like, he's top, like he's
yeah,
probably, I mean, Calvin Johnson, but probably my top 3. Like,
yeah,
as him. So I think he was a beast. He was a big receiver. I always loved that.
yeah.
Like,
So right, and I think like for me, like I mean, I remember him in San Fran. You know what I'm saying? Just like stuff. How well he played there, but like. When he got to like Philly, you know what I'm saying? That was really when I was like, man, like, like, and they don't, but that doesn't really get talked about. It's always just kind of
Dallas
like,
days, he was a dog.
yeah, yeah. And,
I mean, I think he had 1,000 yards with like the Bills. And like,
I believe it. Yeah. I mean, he was in Cincy with Chad at one point. Like, I mean, he's still trying to get a crack at it, to get back.
they definitely put them guys in boxes. And I think somebody like him is so easy to point to all the the bad stuff, to demonize them, and just minimize those 100-yard years or 100-yard reception years, and I think at the end of the day he's going to be, oh, that's the guy that he was the third receiver with Tom that when he won his last Super Bowl or whatever. It's like
Yeah,
and
I think and like hate to say it, but like Chad Johnson and T.O. neither of them are in the Hall of Fame yet. So like. I know
Chad Johnson, they just screwing him, but that's a different podcast.
Or
not T.O. I mean, they just screwing him. That's a different podcast. But yes,
no, I agree, and
he's literally top 3 in like everything.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Antonio, like they still gonna be waiting their turn. Antonio Brown, like once it's all said and done, it's gonna be long conversations that they do need to be had. I get it, but the guy is a Hall of Famer, so I just kind of sucked seeing them guys that were playing at that high level, just getting like the short end of the stick because they didn't like celebrating back then.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree. And what do you say to you think? I don't know. Do you think there's any? It's largely on him. I'd say is there any cadence on Tom bringing him in and Cole signing for him? Something like make basically overriding the coach. Because
trying to bring him back?
yeah,
No. I think that's one of them things where it's like, Arians is like, all right, like, you Tom Brady, like, okay, we're gonna give him a stat, we're gonna give him a shot. Definitely gonna give him a shot. Because I do like if Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Fournette did not go down all in the same game like they did, I'm pretty sure they would have cut them just off of like with the fake vaccine card. But like I said, that's also kind of messed up. They just realized they needed him. They wanted to hold on to him. I do, but if the guys going to get hurt, they probably wouldn't even, brought him back.
I would kind of, and I'm not just trying to blame it on Tom. I just think it's interesting that he probably wouldn't have been on that team at all. They didn't want him.
Yeah,
That's the time. So,
Yeah.
that potentially helped them get a Super Bowl last year, but it,
It's tough sledding this year.
yeah, it very well could have cost them a Super Bowl this year because they could have went out and got OBJ. They could have went out and got, what I mean? So I would say they had a lot betting on him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say,
he's gonna be the number one guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Evans is getting to it. Yeah.
If they did cut him around that vaccine card time, they would have seen OBJ sitting there and said that's not a bad pickup for mid-December. Mm-hmm. And so it's just interesting, and I think he'll land somewhere, and hopefully he can prove himself on the ball. And, because I don't know, this rap thing ain't gonna work.
He said, "I'm from the pit, not the palace." Whatever that means. But yeah, good little segue. We could kind of chat about, it's Super Wild Card Weekend. I don't know about you. I plan on being from about 4:15 Saturday to like, Sunday at around like 7 or 8. I'm probably gonna be pretty tuned in, just watching some football. Because it's gonna be this time of the year. College football already done, so it's like we really.
It's sad. We got about 3 weeks, 4 weekends a month football left.
Yeah. Yep. So, good slate of games. I mean, I love seeing like Philly back in there, San Fran's back in the playoffs. Bengals, obviously I'm a pretty big Joe Burrow fan.
Yeah, I need to go on the record and say I was wrong about Joe Burrow. I ain't believe. I thought that I was like, man.
You want the floor now? Want me to?
I say what I had to say. I was wrong about it. Yeah, the dude's cold. I didn't buy it. I thought he had all those number one receivers around him.
Yeah.
That great defense. I was just like, a one hit wonder is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But no, he can ball. It's good.
Yeah, I don't know. He always had like that it factor. Like I don't know. I saw some crazy stat. Like they were saying, like basically every time I might try to pull it up, but every time like he was in a situation where he had to like absolutely win a game, like they ended up winning that game, and they listed off like Bama and then like Oklahoma in the playoff, and then Clemson in the playoff. They needed to beat the Chiefs this past a couple of weekends ago to clinch a spot and clinch the division. Like but yeah, like you said, that's topic for a different day. But I guess are there any games this weekend that really caught your eye? Something that you like. All right, like I don't really care about the other ones. I got to sit down and watch this one.
Yeah, no. So the one I know for an absolute fact I'm gonna be watching are the Cardinals Rams. I'm not watching a bunch of them, but that's one I know I won't miss a second of. I know we've been talking about Stafford.
It's time to shine.
It is time to shine. He's had a little bit of a rough patch. They seem to be pulling out some of these wins, even though he's playing like shit. Playing a little better than shit. But I think it's time to put up or shut up. And Kyler Murray's obviously very lethal.
Yeah.
I would say that's just gonna be a good game to me. And I want to hopefully Stafford can pull it out, get that first playoff dub under his belt.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that pressure might be mounting on him. He was balling out early in the year. Some people went down. He stumbled a little bit, brought in OBJ. They hit a bit of a stride, even though he's not playing the greatest. And I think maybe just whether he plays fantastic or they just come out and win and he plays okay, I think if he just gets that dub, that's going to be such a pressure release for him that he'll probably catch his stride. I imagine if he gets that monkey off his back, and so that's one game I'm really looking forward to. I'm hoping Stafford can put one together. Yeah,
yeah. No, that was gonna be one for me for sure. But I think the one that I'm really like, I think it's like 4:30 Saturday or like 4:30 Sunday is Cowboys and Niners.
Okay.
Like that. I mean, I watched that. I've been watching, kind of like keep my eye on Deebo Samuel. They literally they put him at running back, they put him at receiver, he threw a touchdown pass last week. I think they're kind of like I feel like they're kind of like what the Cowboys don't want to see, because they're just like super physical. Defense is crazy. Pass rush is crazy.
Pass rush is great.
I think it's gonna be one of them games where like Dak is gonna have to, because they can't. Zeke been limping since like week 6, so he's I doubt he'll be much of a factor. But like I think that's really gonna be when it kind of like falls on Dak's shoulders squarely, and he's gonna have to show. I love Dak, but he's gonna have to show that he's worth $75 million this weekend. And I think I really feel like my next question is gonna be upset. I'll start. I feel like I can see the Niners going into AT&T Stadium and sneaking out of there with a dub. So
okay, I like that. Jimmy G. I don't know. I guess I did watch them play. I can't think who the hell they're playing with though. I did watch them play, and that defense is tough. So I would say, yeah, no, they're explosive, and so I just think it's gonna be really on Jimmy G if he can. He's such a fucking hit or miss. Sometimes I'm looking at him, and he does look like a NFL Super Bowl type quarterback. And a lot of times I'm like, they got to bring in that Trey Lance kid. So, I think it's going to be real interesting. But I do think that's a good one. I did see Zeke. I was kind of hard on him the off season. He did get to 1,000 yards this year, 1,002. I just looked it up earlier.
Yeah.
So,
some are saying it was because they had a 17th game.
Yes. Hey. Hey, you Cooper Kupp got the record. I was trying to tell people that shouldn't count the other day. So
yeah. Oh no, I agree. Even he said it shouldn't count. But go ahead.
No, I agree. And then I've seen some old head on Twitter talking about, Marshall Faulk got 2,000 yards in 14 games, or whoever the hell did it. I was like, all right, well, that shit don't count.
Yeah, valid point. I guess, but yeah, no, for sure.
No, and so I'm not going to call it upset, but I think a game that might be a little more close than people think. And it's going to be interesting to me, and it's a person I love to hate, and that's going to be that's Tom Brady and going to play the Eagles.
Okay.
I think I do think they're going to pull out a win, but I think they're going to make it interesting. I think they're beat up. They're out there with LSU track stars and fourth over. Sorry, NFL track stars and like
mid-round picks.
Yeah, and I was just say most of the time a guy that probably be like the third or fourth option on a squad, and so obviously they got Gronk still, but and Mike Evans, so they got some pieces. But I think going in there, I think it's going to be a little interesting. Yeah, and
it get dicey.
Yeah, and I think Jalen Hurts, it'd be interesting to see what he can do in the playoffs. It might get loose. And that Russian attack is fierce. So, and if they can break some runs off, and if he can make some a couple big time throws, I think it might be a little more interesting than people say.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. You got, and even from a defensive standpoint, they're missing Levante. I think Levante David just came back from a foot injury. They got one of their best pass rushers that had like 3 sacks in the Super Bowl, 3 sacks in the Super Bowl. He practicing in a knee brace right now.
Yeah.
So it's never whenever it's reported that somebody's practicing with something like that, like it's never really kind of telling that they're probably not going to be like much of a factor come game time. But no, that's fair. I think one with that is like you got like a 22-year vet been in the playoffs, like that's like probably like his 19th time in the playoffs against Jalen Hurts. That's like Jalen Hurts is a different animal. But I think that's what it'll be interesting to see how that kind of unfolds too.
And I think it might be one of them games that like I said, I'm not calling an upset necessarily. I think it's going to be an
Right.
interesting game, probably a little more close than it should be, and
Yeah.
it might be one of them games that ultimately it helps the Bucks get back on track. Hey, let's wake up here. We almost lost to these motherfuckers,
Mm-hmm.
and that might be something that they could use to catapult themselves into a little in for later in the playoffs. Either way, but I just think that's a with that running attack, and them being a little beat up and unsure on offense, I think it's could be a bit of a perfect storm.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but I think we gotta the way the playoffs are worked out anyway. I think it's interesting. I am not, Big Ben's last game probably. That's going to be interesting. He has been. I'm never going to say he's one of my favorite quarterbacks, but a guy that I definitely just a staple in the league since the entire time I've been watching. So it's kind of interesting to see, somebody like that.
Yeah. That's
Pop
gonna be
out. Yeah.
that's be one of the things I saw they're trying to appeal TJ Watt's sack record. So I was actually kind of thinking about them too, because it's like that kind of reminded me. I'm like, that could be a scenario where JJ Watt or TJ Watt. I mean, he caught that edge because the Chiefs, they got both their tackles. I think they're pretty banged up, or they got like backups in. Same scenario as last year.
Last year. Yep.
Pretty much. So, I mean, when it comes to like defense and like them type of players, all it takes is like 1 or 2 sacks, ball come out on one of them, turnover, like just come out, act, not taking it, super seriously. You know what I'm saying? So I think that one would be good. Hopefully it'll be a good game. And then one other one I'm really, really looking forward to is Bengals and the Raiders. I think that could be one of those where like the Bengals was 10-7, won their division. Raiders was 10-7 and just had to win their last game to get into the playoffs. So it's like, you got Joey Burrow, they all in the locker room, dancing, smoking cigars and everything, celebrating. And then you got one team that's like, well, we're not supposed to really be here. So, what's up? So I just think, the Bengals could easily, you see it. There's always that one team in the first round that kind of come out flat. Just, what I'm saying? Just like, all it takes in the playoffs, like the margin of error is it's already small in the NFL, but it's like, it's, like it's tight, like real tight. Like the playoffs.
Once you get in the NFL playoffs, it's unlike almost any other sport where the playoff teams are all good.
Weather's shitty.
Yeah.
Everybody's hurt.
Yep, everybody's hurt. It's just a war of attrition. It's who can just make a play. Anything can really happen. I mean, you like the Giants. Them they were going like 9-7 and winning the Super Bowl. They were just getting hot. That defense hit. So I would say that type of thing can happen, and so you never know. And
like San Fran kind of remind me of like a team like that. Like they was kind of in shambles, start the year off. They got healthy, and now they coming in. Like I know Dallas got to be a little shook.
You calling Jimmy Garoppolo Eli, the new Eli?
No. I think he could be. He's kind of like in like a spot like a Trent Dilfer right now. Just kind of like riding. He's doing all the right things.
He's Rex Grossman.
Yeah, just don't turn the ball over. You know what I mean? Just like throw to Debo Samuel, like literally him and George Kittle, like that. And just kind of like let them do everything else, because that'll be like their downfall if he get back there, throw a couple picks, fumble, something like that. But yeah, that's kind of like.
I think that's interesting. I think that's an interesting call. You're making me kind of want to watch the game a little bit. I wonder. Early in the year, they were bringing out Trey Lance and doing packages. I wonder if that's something they would interest for the playoffs, or they're just going to keep him on the bench.
I think that's.
Over.
I don't know. It'd be. I don't think. I mean, I think they already said like they get rid of Jimmy. So I think like they're gonna be like. I mean, if they kind of stopped doing that a while back. So I think it's like now it's just Jimmy's show until it's over.
Yeah.
You bring in Trey Lance and
I agree, but if you ever going to do that, I mean, now's the time to bring out that little package for the playoff. They ain't seen it in 14 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't seen it.
Yeah. At least they do got tape on him, because he started against the Texans when Jimmy G tore up his thumb or something. He had like 20 yards, couple TDs. Like he played pretty well. But yeah, no, I'm ready for him too though, because I think, well, they already said he's going to be the guy next year. And I just saw, like, it was kind of funny. I saw him on the sideline, standing right next to the coach, just, like, reading his QB thing, just kind of, like, trying to, like, learn to play. Yeah, just, they're getting them tuned up. You're going to get a good little off season, and he'll be ready to rock and roll next year. But yeah, all in all, it's gonna be good football all around this
Yeah,
weekend.
no, good football weekend. Georgia just, top it off. Good football weekend here. Georgia just finished the college football year. A couple weeks away from the Super Bowl, and then and then we're going to transition into basketball. We've been kind of basketball's been on the back burner here.
Yeah,
but,
just taking full advantage. We're soaking it all in football season.
I agree. No, I'm excited. I'm willing to ready to see what the football weekends has for us here. A lot of good teams, really. I don't think there's a clear cut, especially since some of these injuries some of the teams have. I don't think there's a decisive. This is definitely a lot of question marks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One more little nugget too that I just thought of. So the Rams, their best safety just got a concussion. He's on IR. He's obviously gonna play this weekend. They brought back this guy named Eric Weddle that hasn't played since 2018. He's a Pro Bowler when he played. Last time he played, he went to the Super Bowl. They're number one defense in the league.
But
he ain't played in 3 years. He might be starting Monday night. So that's just something to, kind of keep in mind too. And also because I obviously want 9 to pull it out, and the Cardinals thumped the Rams in LA, and then the Rams thumped the Cardinals in Arizona. Now they got to go back to LA, and this is one of them things where it's these are the matchups you really, really like because it's their division rivals. So it's going to be they put that on a Monday night for a reason.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, definitely. I personally think the best game. Temperature's going to be high during that one, and I just kind of I'm just hoping Stafford can pull that shit out and just fucking
get one. You know what I'm saying? One, and we'll figure it out next week. Just get the
get
if
one.
you win one, Lions win one too. So
that's an honorary victory.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, got anything else for the people?
No, sir. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Till next time.
Sir.